So how are you guys? Seems like fjakica, huh? Okay. We have a lot of work to do. I'll walk you through so many practices. This is so broad topic, so I'll just give you some clues, but let's go on. Can I get the clicker, please? Left and right, and no black, right? So, who am I? One colleague called me optimization junkie. The first I was offended, of course, but later on I accepted myself. So I'm one of those persons who enter the elevator and first presses the closing door button and then the floor button because that's the optimal. But don't be that guy. It's annoying. It's annoying for both you and your environment. Don't be that guy. And it's also annoying for your wife or husband. When I'm planning a trip with my wife, she's here, I end up putting like 50 hours of activities into one day. So we can say that efficiency is one point of my interest, right? Okay. And that's mostly my professional deformation, because entire my career I'm a developer, working mostly with Java, Groovy, and a few years back I'm mostly on Kotlin, So these, and I moved to databases through time. They got me interested, and mostly distributed databases because horizontal scalability and all stuff. And also, through that time, I'm being dragged and more into leadership, and. But I look at it as a good thing, because it forced me actually to meet so much more people and so much different perspectives, and approaches. So I think it's a good idea. And one also good way of getting different perspectives, different approaches are those communities. And I'm really proud, that I helped bootstrap and still in organization of two of them in Zagreb. And they jointly gather more than 1,000 people. So yeah, I'm really proud of that. I work at Infobip. It's also written here, I hope. And I worked there for 8 years now, almost. This is our fancy campus in Istria, in Vodnjan. I have one colleague there, Rocco. He's actually from Split, but he moved there and he's living in Vodnjan. And he's a great guy, He's working something with data analysis. And he actually solved us some real tough problems, some great problems. But, he cannot work when it's rainy. That was really funny for me, But everybody got used to it. And even his line manager, he said to me, no, don't mock Rocco when it's Hugo, he'll be fine. That's really funny for me. But fortunately, it's a lot of sunshine hours, how it's said, in Vodnjan. Okay, this is some Infobip numbers. We're quite big in, at least in Croatian perspective. We have offices all around the world. But development is mostly here in the region. And also we have one office in St. Pete in Russia and one small office in India, in Pune. And quite recently we actually opened a Split office. You should check it. It's still quite small. We hired some great guys there, and one entirely new product will be developed here. So I don't know, you should check it. I think it's a good opportunity, to be one of the cornerstones of that product and office as well. So, just to give you some context, maybe you don't even know what Infobip is doing. So, few examples. When you sign up to WhatsApp and you get that SMS, that's us. Or when you get a call from your Uber driver, for example, it's also us. So, a lot of big customers worldwide and a lot of different channels, meaning email, WhatsApp, voice, Viber. I don't know, all sorts of messenger, I don't know. So, I emphasized this 7 billion monthly transactions because that's actually my point of interest, my point of work. Because me, myself, and my teams are responsible for all the data in Infobip. being that database is used while processing, or being that later for analysis, I don't know, like crunching the data, I don't know, streaming, batch processing, being that for customers, in terms of some dashboarding reporting, or for employees, like business analysis, or maybe just to fed it again into the system for some automated data-driven decisions, right? So yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, and Infobip's Infobip's biggest competitor is actually one Silicon Valley company. And to compete in that market, in world market, in Silicon Valley, they have much more fundings, much more partnerships, much bigger talent pool as well. So, in order to compete with them, you must either work more, right? Or work smarter. And that's where we got to the topic of the talk, So just some rules, let's say. I'll just briefly scratch the surface, I'll just give you some clues, but you'll have to do your homework alone, Okay, on the last slide, what you have seen already, right, is all the literature and stuff, so you can check it out, take a photo or not, whatever. So, let's see. Okay. Edmund Lau, author of the book Effective Engineer, he interviewed a lot of engineers and realized that the most efficient ones are those who invest their time into activities that produce most impact in the least amount of time. And that's really logical, It's not a breakthrough, it's nothing, but I think it's a good framework, when you're thinking about your activities. He also gave a lot of good examples. You should check that book. Okay, so in the next 15 minutes, I'll walk you through 3 scenarios. I'm quite sure that you recognize some of your colleagues. Maybe even you recognize you, but let's stick to the colleagues because, it's easier to talk about those who aren't here in the room, right? Something like that. So let's try. Okay, this first, he works in a team. They have a Scrum planning. They're discussing some bug, and he or she takes the task, and the approach is I'll manage it by my own. And so she or he starts developing an entire new system, for finding that bug, because that will be useful for future on, right? And 2 weeks later, we still have a bug, and we have an entire new complicated system, full of new bugs. So, where did it go wrong? You know this guy. He's Ed Murtaugh. He always has the best intentions, but output is not there. The first section I would like to focus is the feedback loop, and shortening the one, meaning to get to conclusions faster, fastest possible. Okay. First of all, when you or your colleague is in opportunity, like the planning is, ask so much questions, ask about inputs, about the outputs, especially if you're working with data, essential. Ask for some context, propose some solution, ask for feedback. Use this opportunity to brainstorm with your colleagues, Don't go into mode, I'll manage it by my own later, You won't be smarter later, trust me. Next point. If it won't take you too much time, automating tools or writing tools for automation or tools per se is actually a really good practice. For example, in my first team, we wrote some of those tools, and they were actually scripts, and we placed them on some shared repository. Okay, and through the years, this grew so much, so many different contributors, so many different ideas, so many different features. Key here is that tools are enabling workflows that previously weren't possible, Think about it. If you don't have access to production, ask one, people can call this DevOps or whatever, but make sure that you know how your system, how your code is performing in the wildest, in the production. Sebastian, guy from Amazon, he told he was just talking about continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment. It's essential, you know. It enables you and your colleagues, you know, to be so efficient, you know. For example, at Infobip, you know, we have junior guys who come to the company like very first or second week, and they're deploying their code into mission critical parts of the system, you know. And we sleep tight, you know, no problem with that, you know. So invest your time into developing this pipeline of continuous integration and delivery. All of those, you know, compilation, type safety, logs, monitoring, all just a means of getting feedback faster. Think about it. You know, you're using it probably. And of course, tests, you know. I'm quite sure that you read a book, Clean Code by Uncle Bob, you know. For me, it's a Bible. And he says that tests are pre-requirement number one for having a good code, for having a clean code, you know. And it really makes sense, you know, because you cannot even refactor if you're not sure if it's working anymore, you know. So it's again about the feedback loop, right? Okay. Second example. So this one comes from a great company to a startup project, you know. He knows everything about clean code, high availability, all this stuff, right? And his system never produced any errors. It's working perfectly. And he even predicted all the possible use cases, you know, like years from now. But we're still waiting for the clients to onboard, or because it's, I don't know, it's not just the thing for them, or it's too expensive, or whatnot. So, yeah, we all expected much more from this guy, right? And this section is mostly about agile and agility, you know, agile development. You know, you have all sorts of books about the topic, you know, but make sure that you understand it by heart, you know. I will suggest you, you know, if you're trying to find a book about the topic, you know, you shouldn't search further than the Croatian region, you know. Roko Rojic, he's actually your fellow citizen, I think. He wrote a book, Agilni razvoj softvera. Check this out. Or Damir Prusac, head of engineering at Infobip, our head of engineering, he also wrote a book on the trace of agile leadership. So check them. I think it's essential to understand that. Okay, let's get deeper. Make sure that you understand that all of us need to bring some money, some value to the company, you know. Make sure that you understand why are you doing it? What are you doing? What is this feature for? How the customer will use it in the end? You know, cross that boundary of that's not my job, you know. I will suggest you one book for that. It's called Extreme Ownership by Navy SEAL guys. Actually, this one is more about leadership, but I think it addresses this mentality of ours like really good. You know, it's not my job. It's others' fault. You know, so it's disastrous. This one. I'm quite sure that you heard about Ken Beck's 4 principles of simple design. I think it's really precise definition of a clean design, of simple design. And the fourth principle is this one. So make sure that you're not overcomplicating your system. Make sure that you are not, you know, there's this quote, premature optimization happens to everybody, you know. But we all go into, sometimes we go into that rabbit hole of, you know, developing, oh, this will be great, this will be needed, but no, you know, stop it, get out of that rabbit hole and get rid of all that code, you know. It's not needed. If you'll be needing it, you know, you will find it on Git or whatever you're using for source control, right? And also, you know, we're all trigger happy when we hear new technologies, but don't be, you know, the guy who walks to the conference and then takes all the frameworks and all the tools and all the technologies and put them into their work and into their project, because, you know, in the end it will provide you so much more work, you know. Think about it. And this one is me, you know. You know, when I'm crunching some problem, you know, I'm crunching, and then solve it. And at that point, my brain goes, okay, I'm done, I'm out of here, you know, I won't be thinking about it anymore. But that's the problem, you know. get it back, challenge your idea even more, maybe you can solve it faster, maybe you're influencing something else that you shouldn't. Just challenge your idea. And of course, make sure that you are working only on one thing, Did you know that too much context switching can reduce your IQ by 20 points, Can you imagine that, And you have all sorts of tools, all sorts of practices to fix that. For example, you can work from home or I don't know, shift your working hours or use noise-canceling headphones. I think I hear myself again. But the most important thing, in my perspective, is your discipline, Don't be that guy who, when you're stuck to some problem, you go to make a coffee, because after you make a coffee, you'll be fast, you'll be smarter, you'll be able to solve it. You won't, You're just running away from a problem, so discipline as well. And control your OCD, I mentioned clean code and tests, all the stuff, but don't take this dogmatically. You shouldn't seek for 100% test coverage, Make sure that you understand that business world and the world itself is a messy place, It's always about hitting the sweet spot between speed and quality, Guys from Google, actually, in their book, Site Reliability Engineering, it's called something like that, they introduced a concept called error buckets. And the idea is here, the idea is not to have a greater amount of errors on your service. And that's great, that's normal. But you shouldn't also have less than some amount of errors, Because that means you're too precautious, you're consuming too much time. Your competitors already are on the market, Think about it. Okay, the final one. So this one works, again, in a team. Others are taking all the interesting tasks, and he takes the one that nobody wants. He's a nice guy. He never wrote one line beside his work, and never gave a suggestion for improvement because that's others' job. So, in this section, I would like to focus on learning. Edmund Lau, a leverage guy from the start, he said, and I cannot agree more, that learning constantly each day is one of the biggest leverages, where you can invest your time. Okay, the first bullet, from all the books I have read, all the courses, all the conferences, all the workshops, whatever, if I taken, if I didn't put it into practice, like in rule of the thumb, 2 years, let's say, it's all waste, It's all just waste, I have one great guy in my division, Alan, he's aggressively attending courses, But before he attends some course, he asked me and everybody, what should I learn? What are our next plans? Where are we going? What should I learn so I can put it into practice? And I really, really like that approach. It proved working for him. We even created one entirely new team around him, and they're working on some strategic goal for us. Something related to data science, machine learning. But I really, really, really like that approach. And make sure that you understand that passion is contagious, Choose the time, choose with who are you spending your time. And of course, master your craft. I already mentioned two of those guys, Ken Beck and Uncle Bob. And I believe Enkelade, yesterday, he mentioned Agile Manifesto. All those guys from Agile Manifesto, they're real source of wisdom, Make sure that you understand that Agile Manifesto. I think my opinion is that understanding those bullets from Agile Manifesto by heart is one stair between junior and senior guys, So check it, And also make sure that you know how to use your IDE, I think it's one of the points of mastering our craft, I don't know, learn one shortcut each few weeks, let's say. It's both productive and it's cool, when you see it's action. And can I ask you one question, to use this opportunity? Who has ever seen a doctor who can type with like 10 fingers? 2, I want to meet you, I want to meet you and show me this guy, I'm finding this unicorn like forever. Thank you. Because I'm always, all of them are like, how, man, you're typing entire life, and each day. So please learn, master your craft, And read the other's code, of course. We all perform those pull requests and all this stuff, but read other teams' code as well. If you're using some open source stuff, read that code as well. You have entire GitHub if you want to read, And of course, find an environment where you can put all this into practice, But make sure that you're not running away, that you really got to the bottom, that you really stopped the learning, okay? And yeah, now we have like 3 soft skills bullets. It's also, I think it's also necessary to understand them, but we'll just run through them, I know it's annoying, but it's also one aspect of efficiency. So first of all, control your ego. You're all smart guys. Your colleagues are all smart guys. But interesting thing, at least from my perspective, the smartest people I've met, they don't make others in the room feel dumb, So control your ego. Ask for feedback aggressively, and don't explain yourself when you get one, And last, but really important, don't get burned out while you're chasing your efficiency. Drink your coffee, enjoy the sun, stare into a wall if that's your thing, And engage your body. I think we're all sitting too much, guys. And that's it. Thank you.